You don't need to find courage. You already carry it. You just forgot how loud it roars. Let me talk to you straight. There's a moment in every person's life when they've got to decide what kind of energy they're going to carry into this world. Will you be the one who folds under pressure or the one who sharpens under fire? Will you let fear be your compass, or will you move through fear like a storm walking straight into purpose? Because life is not going to wait for you to get brave. Life is not going to wait for you to feel ready. Life is happening right now, and you've got a choice to make. Be a warrior or be a worrier. See, a worrier waits. They sit on the sidelines of life with their what-ifs and their fears. What if it doesn't work out? What if I'm not enough? What if they laugh? What if I lose? A worrier builds mountains out of problems and walls out of opinions. They let their imagination become a prison, locked up by the idea that pain is permanent and failure is fatal. But a warrior doesn't waste time worrying about outcomes. A warrior moves with intention. A warrior knows they might fail, might stumble, might bleed, but they show up anyway. A warrior understands that fear is not a reason to stop. It's a reason to prepare. It's a signal that you're stepping into something bigger than your comfort zone, and that's exactly where growth lives. And don't get it twisted. Warriors feel fear too. They just don't let it run the show. They don't let it paralyze their progress or hijack their purpose. A warrior wakes up in the morning, hears the noise of doubt, and still says, "Let's go." Because a warrior knows this life is war. It's war against laziness. It's war against comparison. It's war against distraction, addiction, doubt, and the soft version of yourself that wants to lay down when things get hard. You know what I'm talking about. That version of you that wants comfort over calling. That version of you that looks for excuses instead of effort. That part of you that keeps saying, "Not now, maybe later," while your dream is screaming for your attention. That's not the real you. That's the worrier. And it's time that voice got silenced. Because here's the truth. Worry will never prepare you for the storm. Only courage will. Worry builds tension. Courage builds strength. Worry keeps you stuck. Courage moves you forward. Worry imagines worst-case scenarios. Courage says, even if that happens, I'll find a way. You want to win in life? You want peace? You want purpose? Then you've got to stop feeding your fear and start fueling your fight. You've got to look in the mirror and remind yourself, you were not born to panic through life. You were born to walk with power, with precision, with purpose. You were born to lead, not lag, to rise, not retreat, to conquer, not crumble. And if you've forgotten that, that's okay, because right here, right now, is your moment to remember. This is your moment to shift, to stop rehearsing worst-case outcomes and start preparing for breakthrough, to stop letting anxiety write your story and start letting discipline finish the chapter, to stop crying over what might go wrong and start building what's meant to go right. Let me tell you something personal. The greatest battles are not out there in the world. They're the ones happening in your mind when no one's watching. When the room gets quiet and it's just you, your thoughts, and your habits. That's when the real fight begins. That's when the warrior rises or the worrier takes over. And you know what separates the two? Choice. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not education. It's choice. You've got to choose who you're going to be every single day. A worrier wakes up and lets the day dictate their direction. A warrior wakes up and dictates the day. They don't wait for energy, they generate it. They don't wait for inspiration, they work with intention. Because the warrior knows nobody's coming to save them. No one's handing out crowns. You've got to earn every inch, every moment, every breakthrough. With sweat, with silence, with solitude, with sacrifice. And yes, warriors get tired, but they don't quit. Yes, they get doubted, but they don't fold. Yes, they get tested, but they rise. They rise with bruises. They rise with tears. They rise with scars. But they rise again and again and again. Because warriors don't chase applause. They chase alignment. They don't move for validation. They move for mission. And they don't crumble under pressure. They become diamonds in the heat. So ask yourself, what's your pattern? When life hits, do you shrink? Do you spiral? Do you start worrying, complaining, panicking, blaming? Or do you anchor in? Do you breathe, regroup, and move again? Because the people who win aren't always the smartest. They're just the most stable. They don't get thrown around by every emotion. They're grounded in something deeper than the moment. That's the warrior. And let me say this loud so it hits your spirit. The warrior in you is still alive. Even if you've been knocked down, even if you've been silent, even if you've been lost in your own head, the fight is not over. You're still breathing, aren't you? That means there's still work to do. That means your purpose didn't expire just because you got tired. That means you can still pick up your sword and walk back into the arena, even if your legs are shaking. You don't need to have it all together. You just need to be willing to push, willing to fight, willing to show up, even when your voice trembles, even when your knees buckle, even when no one's clapping, because that's when the warrior is forged. Not in comfort, not in ease, not when life's going smooth. The warrior is born in the trenches, built in the struggle, refined in the fire. And when you step into that identity, when you stop being a worrier and become the warrior you were born to be, everything changes. Your posture changes. Your priorities shift. You stop entertaining people who drain your energy. You stop explaining your boundaries to people who benefit from you having none. You stop tiptoeing through life, afraid of stepping on toes, and you start walking boldly into your destiny. You want to know what real strength looks like? It's not in how loud you talk. It's not in flexing online for people who don't care. Real strength is silent. It's in your discipline, in your daily decisions. It's how you talk to yourself when you want to give up. It's in how you get back up after falling on your face. Warriors don't brag, they build. Warriors don't broadcast their moves, they move. While warriors are busy overthinking what might go wrong, warriors are already working on what will go right. And listen, it doesn't matter how long you've been worrying. What matters is how soon you decide to shift. You don't need a new year. You don't need a new job or a perfect plan or some motivational video to wake you up. What you need is a decision. A moment of brutal honesty with yourself where you say, I'm done letting fear run the show. That's where it starts. Because here's the part no one tells you. Worry is a habit. And like any habit, it can be broken. You've trained your mind to expect the worst. You've trained your body to tighten up when things get hard. You've trained your spirit to retreat before the battle even begins. But habits can be rewired. Patterns can be disrupted. And the moment you stop feeding your fears, they lose their power. You ever notice that the worst-case scenario rarely happens the way you imagined it? That most of what you worried about never even came to pass? That the storm you feared the most turned out to be the thing that made you stronger? That's the warrior's gift. They see chaos, and they train in it. They use pressure as practice, pain as fuel, and worry becomes irrelevant in the presence of action. Because action kills anxiety, purpose kills panic, movement silences the mind. And I get it. The world gives you 1,000 reasons to worry. Your past, your bills, your relationships, your self-doubt. But none of that will fix itself if you stay stuck in your head. You can't solve fear with fear. You solve fear by facing it. You solve fear by walking toward it like David walked toward Goliath, with faith, with fire, with focus. And I know it's not easy, but you weren't built for easy. You were built for victory. You've just got to remind yourself of who you are, daily, hourly, by the minute if you have to. And every time your mind starts to spiral into fear, you stop it and say, no, I choose strength. I choose action. I choose to fight. That's what warriors do. They decide again and again to show up, even with tears in their eyes, even with doubt in their chest, even when they don't feel ready. Because warriors know it's not about how you feel, it's about what you do. Let's get one thing clear. Feelings are not facts. Just because you feel fear doesn't mean you're not built for greatness. Just because you feel overwhelmed doesn't mean you're weak. That's the worrier talking. That's the part of your mind trained to shrink, to avoid, to delay, to survive. But the warrior was trained to rise, to lean in, to adapt, to evolve. And not just once, every single time life tests you. Because life will test you. It will throw pain at you like waves crashing on rocks. And you can either crumble like sand or stand like stone. You can either worry yourself sick or warrior your way through it. And the difference comes down to this: focus. Where are you placing your energy? Are you feeding fear with thoughts of defeat? Or are you feeding your fight with thoughts of progress? Let me ask you, who are you rehearsing every day in your head? The worrier or the warrior? Because whatever you rehearse, you become. Every time you overthink, every time you panic, every time you drown yourself in what if, you strengthen the worrier. But every time you step forward, every time you speak truth to fear, every time you move through discomfort, you build the warrior. This is not about pretending life isn't hard. This is about being hard enough to walk through it anyway. It's about waking up and choosing resilience over reaction, choosing peace over panic, choosing progress over perfection. Warriors know they're not flawless. They just don't let flaws stop them. And you've got to stop measuring yourself by how smooth life feels. Warriors don't look for easy. They look for elevation. They look for that next challenge that's going to sharpen them, that next level that's going to stretch them. While warriors ask, what if I fail? Warriors ask, what if I grow? While warriors ask, what if I get hurt? Warriors ask, what if I heal stronger than ever before? That's what this world needs more of. Not people who hide their pain, but people who harness it. People who turn pressure into power. People who step out of the shadows and say, I'm done worrying. I'm done doubting. I'm done living small. I was made for more than this. So let the worrier die. Let them fade. Let them go. That part of you was never meant to run the show. That part of you was just a chapter, not the whole book. But the warrior's the author, the one holding the pen, the one writing the future in bold, unshakable ink. The warrior is the version of you that refuses to surrender, no matter what life throws your way. Let's be honest. Some of you have been walking around like victims in a story you were born to conquer, carrying weight that doesn't belong to you, letting your past dictate your power, letting old wounds write today's rules. But warriors don't keep dragging old chapters into new seasons. Warriors release, they reset, they reclaim, because they know the only way to rise is to let go of what's been holding them down. You can't fight for your future while holding on to fear from your past. You can't walk with confidence while clinging to shame. And you can't build peace if you're building it on anxiety. You've got to confront the warrior in you, not with hate, not with shame, but with truth. Look that version of yourself in the eye and say, "Thank you for trying to keep me safe, but we're not doing life like this anymore." That's how the shift happens. When you stop negotiating with fear, when you stop reasoning with limitation, when you say, "I've had enough of barely surviving, now I'm choosing to thrive." And that kind of shift, it changes everything. You start walking different. You start talking different. You don't let distractions steal your focus. You don't let temporary emotions define your identity. You rise above. The world is noisy, and worry loves noise. It feeds on chaos. It multiplies in stillness when you don't control your thoughts. But warriors don't get consumed by the noise. They find the signal. They turn down the drama, the doubt, the external expectations, and tune into something deeper. Call it discipline. Call it faith. Call it God. But whatever you call it, know this: it's stronger than fear, and it's always been in you. And when you walk with that, you become unshakable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. You stop chasing validation. You stop playing small to be accepted. You stop doubting your own reflection. And you start showing up like someone who knows who they are. Someone who refuses to beg for peace because they built it. Someone who doesn't perform for attention because they've already earned respect from the one person that matters most, themselves. So hear me clearly. There's nothing weak about you. There's nothing average about you. The warrior in you is real. You just have to choose it. You have to own it. You have to embody it. Not once, not when life feels good, but every day, every storm, every setback, every silent season when nobody sees you grinding, especially then. That's when the warrior earns their crown. Now let's talk legacy, because at the end of the day, it's not about the noise you made, it's about the impact you left. Worry doesn't leave a legacy, but courage does. Strength does. Wisdom does. The warrior understands something the worrier never will: that life is short, and the moments we waste in panic, in fear, in hesitation, we never get those back. And when you live like that, like time is sacred, you don't waste it with small thinking or shallow distractions. A warrior knows that one moment of boldness can shift your life. One decision, one, "I won't quit." One, "I've had enough." One, "I'm going to build even if no one claps." That's what turns ordinary people into unstoppable forces. Not because they had perfect plans, but because they had an unshakable mindset. And that's what I'm telling you to develop. You don't need more people believing in you. You need to believe in yourself. You don't need more comfort. You need more courage. Stop trying to find someone to rescue you. Be the one who rescues yourself. Be the one who says, "I will not hand my power to fear. I will not hand my future to worry. I will not let today be wasted by a mindset that never served me." You want to build something real? Then build it from within. Build it with habits, with discipline, with sacrifice. While the warrior asks for approval, the warrior asks for a mirror. Because the only competition is the one staring back at you. And that voice, that inner critic, that fear-based narrative telling you you're not ready, it's lying. You've survived too much to doubt yourself now. You've come too far to shrink again. You've got too much inside you to live small another day. So stop waiting to feel brave. Decide to be brave. Decide to fight for the life you deserve. Decide to step into the identity you were meant for, because the warrior in you doesn't need perfect conditions. Just one reason to rise. And this moment, this message, this breath, maybe that's your reason. So go now. Walk like your spirit's been activated. Talk like your dreams are already real. Build like the breakthrough is already yours. And every time that voice of worry tries to creep back in, Remind it who you are, not just a survivor, not just a dreamer, not just someone trying to figure it out. You're a warrior, and warriors don't flinch when life gets loud. They get louder. And now let me say this, clear, raw, and without apology. You were not born to bow to fear. You were not created to carry anxiety like a badge of honor. You are not here to coast through life in survival mode. You were born to lead, born to conquer, born to rise. And the moment you decide to stop tolerating the mindset of a worrier is the moment everything begins to shift. See, there are two voices in you right now. One whispers comfort, the other roars challenge. One says stay safe, the other says stand up. And whichever one you feed the most, that's the one that wins. Every time you back down, every time you excuse your potential, every time you play it safe just to avoid discomfort, you feed the worrier. But every time you show up despite the fear, every time you move while your hands are still shaking, every time you decide, I'm not quitting today, you feed the warrior. And you know what the warrior understands better than anyone? That discomfort is not your enemy. Discomfort is your gym, your training ground, your spiritual weight room. And every time you lift it, every time you lean into the pain instead of running from it, your soul gets stronger, your foundation gets firmer, your identity becomes clearer. But this is where most people fold. They want the success, but not the struggle. They want the crown, but not the cross. But warriors wear the scars like armor. Warriors walk through the fire because they know that pressure produces purpose. Worry never built anything, but resilience, that builds empires. So ask yourself right now, who do you want to be when no one's watching? When the motivation is gone? When it's just you, the silence, and that dream in your heart? Do you give up because it's hard? Or do you dig deep, breathe steady, and remind yourself, this pain is proof I'm still in the fight? Because warriors don't run from resistance, they run toward it. And let me tell you something, warriors don't always win the first round. They don't always look perfect. They don't always have everything together, but they are relentless. And that relentlessness, that's what separates winners from wishers. That's what separates people who talk from people who build. That's what separates those who fold at the first sign of failure from those who rise from it. Smarter, harder, stronger. So if you're tired, good. That means you're grinding. If you're sore, good. That means you're growing. If you're scared, good. That means you're on the edge of something big. And the worrier in you might want to stop, but the warrior in you, the warrior's just getting started. Now listen, this life you're building, it's not about impressing people. It's about impacting your future. It's about becoming someone you're proud of when you lay your head down at night. Not someone who had no fear, but someone who refused to be controlled by it. Because fear will always exist. Doubt will always knock. But warriors don't let fear make their choices. Warriors don't answer when doubt comes calling. They move forward anyway. They build even when no one claps. They grind even when no one watches. They stay disciplined when it's not glamorous, when it's not trendy, when it doesn't get likes. Why? Because the warrior isn't playing for attention. They're playing for legacy. They're playing for peace. They're playing for the version of themselves they haven't even met yet, but they believe in. That's what this speech is really about. Not motivation. Motivation fades. You don't need a cheerleader. You need a mission, a vision, a deeper why. Because when you know why you're fighting, quitting ain't an option. When you're rooted in purpose, worry can knock, but it won't get in. You've outgrown it. You've leveled up. You've stepped into a mindset that doesn't entertain fear-based living. So let them talk. Let the noise come. Let life throw what it will. The warrior doesn't flinch. The warrior doesn't fold. The warrior gets still, takes a breath, and executes. Again, and again, and again. That's what you've been training for. Not perfection, but persistence. Not ease, but excellence. Not applause, but alignment. And now it's your turn. Your turn to stop playing small. Your turn to stop drowning in thoughts that don't serve you. Your turn to rise, not react. To stand firm, not shrink back. To walk into every room, every moment, every challenge like you belong there. Because you do. Because you are not here to worry. You are here to war. You are not here to survive. You are here to conquer. You are not here to fear life. You are here to live it fully, with purpose, with fire, and with the kind of strength that doesn't beg to be seen. It demands to be felt. So make this your new identity, the mindset you walk with, the spirit you carry. Be the calm in the storm. Be the discipline in the chaos. Be the warrior in a world full of worriers. And never again doubt what's inside you, because you don't need to chase strength. You are the strength. You don't need to find courage. You carry courage. You don't need to become a warrior. You already are one. Now act like it. If you made it this far, drop 100 in the comments, so I know you're part of the 1% who's serious about growth.